You see, the guys down the stairs, they are throwing stones to them. And you see, this is the car of the police, and always nothing happens.
Sorry, who is throwing the stones?
The settlers, the guys downstairs, and the girls up the hill, they attack the students.
We can't just say this is a crazy group and we have nothing to do with it. We Israelis, we all carry responsibility to what is happening in Hebron. And therefore, so many times I feel myself deeply ashamed to be Israeli when I see those things, because it's on my behalf. Those people are there under my government, under my state, and I'm part of it, and each of us Israelis are part of it, and each of us Israelis are paying the price.
Life is not easy in Hebron, but we get much more. We get meaning. We get the knowledge that we are doing something important. Of course, for the Jewish people, for the Jewish history, for the word of God, but not only, because we are doing something very important to the whole world. Now the whole world tries to find a way how to stand against the terror, against the Islamic terrorism, and we show a way. We show the way to say terror should stop, and it should stop here.
Look, please, will you stop them instead of... Will you please stop? Will you please use some brains? They are the ones who are attacking. There, that one hit me.
Sorry, didn't see.
Beating, hitting, insulting is one of settlers' practices of their daily life on daily basis. And that's again reflected in a number of attacks that took place against internationals who will come in and they're outraged by the way that these settlers are behaving, and they try to reduce to the least number of incidents of beatings against the Palestinians, and they are seen by the settlers as misrepresenting history, and that it's a given fact that we are the chosen people, and you as internationals are supposed to be actually siding by us against Arabs and Palestinians, because this is what God has said.
Hi.
As a black South African, I can't comprehend what Israel is trying to do to the Palestinians. You know, they were trying to compare the two scenarios, but for me, they're incomparable. We didn't have high walls. We never had a single exit and entry point. We never had a street that was per se only for the other group of people, but we could one way or the other go to the same town, enter the same shops, but here it's not comparable. You know, they usually call it apartheid, but for me it's incomparable. This for me is very distressful.
Hey, Nazi. I'm old enough to remember what a Nazi is. Well, that's better than these days.
We do school patrols at all the schools at the other end of town. But there is another organisation, the Ecumenical Accompaniers in Palestine, and their volunteers concentrate on patrolling here. And they stay for the morning at the school and then make sure that the children come home again safely too.
And every time they are international people, they've got no problem with the settlers?
Oh yes, they have problems with the settlers too, yes.
It's a Jewish school. It's a Jewish place. She's not supposed to be here. זה מקום של יהודים, תצאי מפה. זה מקום של יהודים.
Get her out of here.
יהודים, get her out of here.
You get her out of here. I know, right?
Of course we oppose these groups being here. For them to come from where they're coming from, it would be if I walked into a hospital and walked into an operating room and said, I'm here, let me help. You know, the doctor's got the patient open, and you've got 5 doctors working, and the anesthesiologist and the nurses, and here I am, I'm, all set, give me a knife. They'd look at me and say, but you don't know anything. You're going to kill him. And the kids know this as well as we do.
You asshole, you suck. You and you fucking Jesus could kiss my ass, okay? Go away. Screw you. Whoa. Don't camera, no camera. I break your camera. Don't take picture, okay?
Then
Screw
go away.
you Nazi. You fuck. Don't take camera. I break your camera. Don't take picture. Shabbat shalom. No picture. We don't want picture.
Leave. You can't come in here. This is not your house.
We killed Jesus. We're proud of it. Where are you?
I would like to see the international community support us and give us backing in this activity, and to understand that their homes are now in danger. You see, the Islamic terrorism attacks the whole world now. And if we do not put a wall against this terror, all Europe is in danger. All the Western society.
This is my land, you.
This is not your land. It belongs to these families.
Land, you son of a bitch. We're gonna kill you and the Palestinians. You Nazi, you son of a shit. This is my house. This is my land. God gave it to me. And fuck you.
Most of the Israelis have not a slightest idea what's going on in Hebron. The media hardly shows them. Nobody wants them to know. And we became a society which cares only about itself, and even this, less and less. And all the rest, we have this wonderful excuse of security. If this doesn't work, we can always bring up the Holocaust. Citing the late Golda Meir, who said that after the Holocaust, the Jews have the right to do whatever they want. And that's the way of thinking. And human rights is really something for European salons, but not for our reality. We are not dealing with it. We deal only with our fate.
It's written. He created the world and he gave Israel to the Jews. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are my forefathers. Do you dispute that? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are my forefathers. Are you disputing that?
These are children.
I first want to speak truth.
I first want to speak about children.
No.
Just to realize that this is the heart, geographically and spiritually, of the Jewish people. This is where it all began. The whole world knows the Bible, and the Bible has a lot of promises that were promised to the Jewish people. A lot of them were promised in Hebron or about Hebron. So I just believe the world has to go back to the Bible, and then they can understand what Hebron's all about.
Tell your children not to hurt these children. That's all I have to say to you.
Pardon me. I'm living here.
I
know what goes on here.
I live here too.
I know what goes on here. I'm living here for over 30 years, and I know exactly what's going on here. And the problem is that we have a Bible, and our Bible was stolen, was plagiarized.
I find it very hard to understand how they can feel like that. And equating us with Nazis and what we're doing with the Holocaust seems to me a quite extraordinary reading of what's gone on in the last 60 years. No, I was a child in Britain during the Second World War, when the entire efforts of the whole nation were devoted to defeating Nazism and Hitler. So, yeah. And where we welcomed and cheered on as a young woman the foundation of the State of Israel, as it seemed in the faced with the horrific discovery of the extent of what had gone on in the Holocaust, that for the Jewish people to have a land of their own seemed so entirely right. And of course, I didn't understand that this was going to be at the expense of the existing local inhabitants.
You're swimming in hypocrisy, all of you. You're all a bunch of anti-Semites, and you want to see the end of the Jews. And because of that, you think you use the Arabs.
You don't listen.
You use the Arabs.
You beat this boy. Why?
How you? How you?
Who beat him then? Who beat him?
Yes.
Who beat him? Who beat the boy?
Yes, I will move.
Okay, I saw.
شو صار معك؟
بس شو هيك بعضكم قعدوا اختي ومرت اخي بدهم يدخلوا عندهم بدهم يقولوا لي اطلع برا وتهجموا عليه مسكين داصعها خلينا سحبوني برا وقعدوا يضربوني
وين ضربوك؟
هون عرفتي
خلوا ضربوه في
بعدين هي
كل جميع جسمه ضربوه
ايوه
جابونا هون هيك فانا قاعد
We'll be happy having this picture taken. This is disgusting.
Well, there's Joshua. He was a fighter. Moses, in the Torah it says Moses led the people out of Egypt. But then Moses died.
There is an imminent corruption process, moral corruption process, that is part of occupation. When you take an 18-year-old man, you dress him with uniform, you give him a gun and the power to control people, it's like a math equation. 1 + 1 ends 2. This ends of abusing Palestinians, destroying their property, looting, shooting against the orders, or with the orders and hurting innocent people. It's something that you can't avoid when you're there. Because when your mission is to blindfold and handcuff some Palestinians on the side, and you see thousands of these around you every day you know a couple, dozens of them, you can't really try to see them as human beings. You can't really even have the thought what they think now, what they feel now, what's going on. This kid is sitting here 14 hours blinded, handcuffed. What's going on with him? He's not a kid anymore. And it becomes more and more difficult because the relationship between the army and the settlers doesn't only stay on this level in the field of, trusting settlers more because settlers are on our side. And the real story is the political power that settlers have. It's the power to influence the commanders, the brigade officer. He's the sheriff of Hebron, right? He controls everything. He sneezes, all Hebron feels it. And every brigade commander of Hebron knows that if he will confront the settlers, he'll finish his army career.
That's a soldier truck, right? It is a soldier truck. That's not good, is it? Mishkleh.
طيب هلا اخذوه هلا العمل هلا كيف بدنا نوصل له للولد؟
وكنا نوصل للولد.
The boy, he don't have ID card. How they can reach him? He don't have an ID card. He's 15 years old.
When I came here in 2001, this building was still full. This building, still like around 3-4 Palestinian families used to still live here. They were the only one who were allowed to walk in this road and through the gates. Today you can see this building is totally empty. This building has like 3 or 4 families left inside. This building is a very actual story, this building. And you can see how it's blocked now. The settlers invaded here in the beginning of February, and according to Israeli law, if someone invades to a property that doesn't earn it, if you don't take him out at the first 30 days, the only way to take him out is through a very long legal procedure. And during all history of this place, every time when they invaded, they were never taken out in the first 30 days. This time, it was the first incident in all the history of the settlement here in Hebron that law was enforced really in time.
On the one hand, you have massive investments to set up communities there. I mean, what look like permanent towns and villages of Jews living in the occupied territories, but the West Bank has not been annexed. Military law continues to apply. So it's quite ambivalent in that sense. What is the future of those territories? I mean, in some cases, Israel maybe is operating contrary to its long-term interests, that areas that now the government is talking about pulling out of. I mean, we have invested a lot of money there. It will now take a lot of money to uproot those people.
אני מבקש מכולם להתפנות מרצונכם הטוב.
שלוחי השטן! שלוחי השטן! שלוחי השטן! תלכו מפה! תראה, חרב של הגויים שרוצים להשתיק יהודים. תתביישו לכם! סבא שלכם בוכה בשמיים עכשיו! תראו לאן הבנים שלו הגיעו! משת"פים של ערבים! משת"פים של ערבים גיבורים על יהודים, משת"פים של ערבים! והם גיבורים על יהודים, משת"פים של ערבים!
We are faithful to God's word, to the Bible, and to the truth, not to this politician or to other. You know, in the Israeli history, in the Jewish history, in the Bible, there were many kings. Many of them were evildoers. Many of them were sinners. And the Bible doesn't say a good word about them. And the prophet said, you know, Elias, he said to the king Ahab, you are a murderer. So to be a good Jew is to be faithful to justice and to truth, not to a political regime. It can be a king, it can be a prime minister, never mind. And this is what I would like to see all the moral people in the world that don't obey to sinners and corrupted regimes.
זה ערבי פה, זה בית ישראל, זה התפקיד שלנו, כנגד ערבים, לא כנגד ילדים קודשים. כן, אם אתם יהודים, לא, אי אפשר זה פעולה. יש לב בתוך כל זה, יש נשמה, יש חסד, יש רחמים.
אתה גר פה, אתה עובד באיזושהי טלוויזיה? Just want to ask you, you're a reporter from where?
From Israel. I'm not talking to you. Are you because you're not because you're not. Are you pulling the people out of the house?
No, I want to
right.
ask
So
you
I'm telling people that I'm telling people. Listen, I'll talk to you next week. I'll have coffee in Jerusalem. Okay. You're crazy. כנגד ילדים, ערבים, שם, רק לי ערבים.
My fear today, my problem that I have today isn't with Hebron. My problem today is with the continued existence of the Jewish people here in the state of Israel, because we're committing suicide. We're virtually committing suicide, and this is what we have to stop. Could it happen? Could an Israeli government decide to pick us up and throw us out of our homes in Hebron? Yeah, it could. And it could happen anywhere today. However, if that happens, I think that we're dealing with an existential threat to the state of Israel, and it has to be stopped.
Without returning the whole West Bank, there will not be a just peace. There will not be a lasting peace. There will not be a peace. And you know, time is running out, and with 250,000 settlers in the West Bank, it's becoming almost too late, maybe too late already, because it will not be very easy to evacuate them. But without this, nothing will move, and we will go just from one war to the other.
We stole the olives. There is nothing. That's what it's nitipat. It needs clean, yes.